The orbital bombardment had lasted for 7 days. 7 days of hellfire raining from the skies, turning Earth's greatest cities into smoldering craters. Humanity's most advanced weapons had proven useless against the alien vessels that hung in low orbit like massive predators toying with wounded prey. Captain James Miller stood on what remained of the naval pier at Norfolk, watching the gray waves crash against chunks of concrete that had once been America's largest naval base. His weathered face, lined with both age and the stress of the past week, remained stoic despite the devastation surrounding him. "Any contact with command?" he asked, not turning to face Lieutenant Davis, who stood at his side. "No, sir. All military communications remain down. Civilian networks, too." Miller nodded. It was expected. The aliens, the collectors as they'd been dubbed by surviving news outlets, had systematically destroyed every military installation and communications hub within hours of their arrival. "And the Nimitz?" "Still dark, sir. Last known position was approximately 200 miles off the coast." Davis hesitated. "Sir, you really think one aircraft carrier, even if it survived, could make any difference against those?" He pointed upward, where the massive silhouettes of the collector ships were visible even in daylight. Miller didn't answer immediately. His eyes were fixed on something in the distance, a disturbance in the water several miles offshore. "Sir?" "Get me binoculars," Miller ordered, his voice suddenly tense with anticipation. When Davis returned with the binoculars, Miller's hands were almost shaking as he raised them to his eyes. What he saw made his breath catch. "My God," he whispered. Rising from the depths came the unmistakable conning tower of a submarine, but unlike any submarine in the U.S. Navy or any other nation's fleet, it was massive, easily 3 times the size of an Ohio-class boomer, with sleek lines that suggested incredible speed despite its size. Its hull was a deep charcoal gray that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. "What is that?" Davis asked, his voice hushed with awe. "I don't know," Miller replied honestly, "but it's not theirs." He couldn't explain how he knew this, but the certainty was bone deep. As they watched, the vessel continued to surface, revealing a hull marked with an insignia neither man recognized, a stylized trident superimposed over a globe. There were no national markings, no flags, nothing to identify its country of origin. Miller's radio crackled, the first time it had done so in days. To all surviving military personnel came a woman's voice, clear and commanding. "This is Admiral Morgan of the UES Poseidon. Stand by for instructions." Miller and Davis exchanged looks of confusion. UES, United Earth something. The radio crackled again. "To the alien vessels currently in Earth orbit. This is Admiral Morgan of the United Earth Navy. You are engaged in unauthorized hostilities against a protected planet. You have 30 minutes to cease all offensive operations and withdraw beyond the lunar orbit. This is your only warning." Miller almost laughed. The audacity was either insane or brilliant. What could one submarine, no matter how advanced, do against an armada that had shrugged off everything Earth had thrown at it? His question was answered 30 minutes later. The Poseidon, now fully surfaced and gliding slowly through the harbor waters, seemed to hum with energy. Panels slid open along its hull, revealing weapon systems unlike anything Miller had ever seen. "All personnel, seek shelter immediately," Admiral Morgan's voice ordered over all frequencies. The sea around the vessel began to churn, the water glowing an eerie blue. Miller and Davis barely made it to a reinforced bunker when the first launch occurred. Not missiles, as Miller had expected, but projectiles that left no exhaust trail, just shimmering distortions in the air as they accelerated upward at impossible speeds. They'd watched on a surviving monitor as the projectiles reached the alien ships. There were no explosions, no dramatic fireballs. Instead, the collector vessels simply came apart, as if their molecular bonds had suddenly decided to stop working. Within minutes, the sky was clear of alien ships, save for debris burning up in the atmosphere. The radio crackled once more. "This is Admiral Morgan. The immediate threat has been neutralized. We apologize for the delay in our response. The Poseidon is the first of the UEM fleet to reach operational status, and we were only recently activated." Later that evening, as government officials arrived to meet with the mysterious admiral, Miller finally got a glimpse of the woman whose voice had heralded humanity's salvation. Admiral Morgan was tall and carried herself with the confidence of someone used to command, but what struck Miller most was how young she appeared, no more than 40. "Captain Miller," she greeted him with a firm handshake. "Your service record is impressive." "Thank you, Admiral," he replied, puzzled. "But how do you know who I am?" Morgan smiled. "The UN has been observing for some time. The Poseidon may seem advanced to you, but she's actually built on principles developed by your own scientists, just accelerated by decades." "I don't understand," Miller admitted. "Who are you people? Where'd you come from?" Admiral Morgan's expression turned serious. "That's complicated, Captain. The simple version is that we're human, just like you. We represent a coalition formed to protect Earth from threats like the Collectors. Our existence has been kept secret until now because humanity wasn't ready." She glanced at the sky, now darkening into evening. "The Collectors were just scouts. There are others out there, Captain. Others who view developing worlds like Earth as resources to be harvested or territories to be conquered. We've kept them at bay for longer than you believe, but this incursion means the game has changed." Miller felt a chill that had nothing to do with the evening air. "What happens now?" "Now," Admiral Morgan said, her eyes reflecting determination, "Earth officially joins the galactic community, under our protection, until you're ready to protect yourselves." She extended her hand again. "And we could use experienced officers like you, Captain Miller. Interested in a transfer?" Miller looked back at the Poseidon, gleaming in the harbor waters, a vessel of Earth, yet not of Earth as he knew it, and made his decision.